There we go.
So how are you? Where are you calling us from today?
Forest Dean, and I'm good, thank you. Yeah, Forest Dean. I'm back in the homeland. Yeah, for sure. Where are you based?
Stafford, so the West Midlands. Have you ever been there?
No.
No, not many people have.
Yeah, I feel like I've been like in the Midlands area, but like, yeah, Stafford, I don't think I've ever been to.
Yeah, it's kind of like between like Birmingham and Manchester. It's like in the middle.
Right, got you. Yeah, that's quite high up as opposed to where I am on the map, I guess.
Yeah.
Very down south.
And so how long have you been pursuing music then?
I've been doing music. I started like playing guitar when I was in year 5 of school. My year 5 teacher taught me how to play guitar. I kind of got hooked from then. And then I kind of fell out of love with music when I got into secondary school, and I picked it up again in year 10. And that's when I kind of got taught like production and stuff. And that's kind of when I really fell in love with everything to do with music, and fell in love with music itself, like all kind of genres, and really got obsessed with it then. I felt that was when it kind of turned from just something I did like on the side that would sometimes impress someone. They'd be like, "Oh, you play guitar?" I'd be like, "Yeah," to kind of something I was like, this is like definitely going to be my career. I need to make it like this is it or nothing else.
Yeah. So what was it that made you pick up the guitars and that again?
So I was having guitar lessons at the time, and my guitar teacher told me, "I'd love you to play this little festival," because he was always pushing me to sing, because I'd sing in guitar lessons, and he'd be like, you could probably like perform over my nights and stuff, like you've got an okay voice. And I was like, no. And I remember coming home from school on the coach, and all my friends were talking about this little festival thing that was happening in our local area. And obviously they were all there, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm playing that. And I wasn't playing it. I just said it to impress them.
Yeah.
So then they were like, oh, sick, we'll all come then. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I had to go back to my guitar teacher and be like, get me on the bill. So that's basically how it happened. It was just me being a teenager and dropping myself in it.
And how has the past year treated you then? Have you found it helpful having time on your hands to like be creative in that?
Yeah, I think like the pressure of it kind of got to me a tiny bit, and I'm not crazy like creative all the time. I don't write a song every day like a lot of artists tend to do or say they do. I kind of just like write when it comes, and I'm at home bird, so like when the isolation thing first happened, it didn't really feel much different to me. I'm quite a recluse and an introvert, so I don't really go out much, but I spend a lot of time in the studio, so it really didn't feel like it affected me that crazily. So when people were asking, like, I bet you've done loads, I was like, well, I'm kind of just normal. But yeah, I feel like now I'm getting like the final kind of like finishing touches to a project.
Yeah.
So that's kind of being less creative a little bit, and more kind of like honing in on details and making sure certain sounds are hitting right and all that stuff. And I feel like the creative thing is starting to nibble at me again, like let's do some new stuff now. So yeah.
So do you think that we'll see like a bigger body of work or project from you like sometime in the future?
Yeah, I've just literally kind of finished putting the finishing touches to it, really. There is a full-length kind of body of work coming later this year. I can't say what it like fully is yet, but like, because to be honest, like, even though I don't know, like that's the kind of beauty of this, is I'm just going to do whatever I want and kind of drop it. But the end goal this year is to drop a bigger body of work to give to the fans and stuff like that.
And so we've got the new single Warning Signs. Can you tell us a little bit about how that one came about?
Sure, yeah. So I went to my first studio session with a band called Bad Sounds, which are a band from Bristol, and it was like my first time ever meeting them. And I went to like this. They've got a studio in like an old police station / jail, and they have a studio in a cell down there. So they took me down into their little dungeon thing, showed me the cells, and then we kind of talked for like an hour just about everything. And then they were like, well, what do you want to make? And I was like, well, I kind of want to make something orchestral, like out of orchestral music. I was really into it at the time, listening to a lot of the streets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we just got like a load of orchestral samples and started like chopping them. And I started just playing around on the keyboard, and that little duh, 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 duh came about, and Callum was playing drums, and it kind of just naturally, we built this kind of beat, which is not something I do a lot, just by writing to like a beat I produced, and then I just started like rattling off stuff that was in my brain. And I also had a title in my phone which just said warning signs from like the night before, and I didn't know what it meant. I just like had it in there, which is what I do a lot. I just have titles sitting around. I did it with the last song, Why Do We Wake Up for the Good Bit. It was just a title. So yeah, that's usually how that stuff kind of comes about.
Yeah, so that's what your process is normally like. Then you sort of have like the music, and then you just like reel things off and see what works.
Yeah, I tend to like stay away from like kind of producing beats, and then writing on top of that, because it's not really a good recipe for a good song, because you like overdo it with production, and like I get so into that, and then you just build this amazing sounding beat, and then you try to write a song on top, and it's almost like you've taken the space up where you're meant to sit in, and like the whole simplicity of like production is, it's meant to decorate the song and not the song try and sit on top of a cool beat. So I never really do that, but I think with the three of us, we all knew that, and when we were building it, we were all aware enough to like build it so far, stop it, and then write the song, then come back and kind of like finish it off. So yeah, it's kind of like balancing act like that.
So do you produce all your tracks as well?
Yeah, I've kind of done it ever kind of since I started, just because where I live in the Forest of Dean, there's no studios around, so I kind of had to just teach myself all of that stuff of like YouTube, and I had a friend that knew bits and bobs and knew what software to download, so I kind of just downloaded it and started jumping in and teaching myself. It was just out of necessity, not of something like I wanted to be like, I want to do it all. If I'd had a producer or a studio near me that wanted to work with me in the early days, I would have probably gone, yeah, okay. But it just wasn't, it's never been like that, just because of the area I live in. So you just had to make do, really.
Yeah. And do you think that living in the Forest of Dean has had quite an impact on the music that you make, as opposed to if you'd like been brought up in like a city or something?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think there's like ever been any music scene or anything, so whatever you hear from like in this area is just a huge conglomerate of what's like what's on TV, radio, YouTube, like everything and everything. No live scene, it's just pubs and stuff like that and covers. So it's a really strange one. There's not a lot of bands and artists kind of around here. I think there's like me and like three others, and we all kind of know each other, and we've all been in each other's bands before. So it's very it's strange. It's hard to explain, because I feel like I'm just like living through it, and I'm like, I feel like no one else has really like been through it, because there's not many of us, so it's kind of strange to pull any kind of, I don't know, kind of experience and like explain to someone. But not even like it's that special of a place. It's just like another village. I'm sure there's loads of artists from local villages somewhere, but
yeah, I like the use of it in the artwork and stuff. Like I was watching the Fod Diaries thing that you did on YouTube, and it looks like a great place.
Yeah, it's like the most beautiful, peaceful place ever. Like I go to the city a lot for like obviously music, and there's always the temptation to be like, oh, I wish I lived in the city to like do certain things, but then you come home and it's like, oh, that's like the nicest break. And like I feel like my friends here are so disconnected from that kind of a world. It's so it feels so real, and just so it's like such a nice like reality break to come back here and just remember that I've got like, you know, not like I'm like famous or anything, but like the industry is so like intense that it's nice to just come back and have a break from that.
Yeah. And I've seen that you've got a socially distanced tour coming up in June. So
Yes,
it's
do.
London, Blackpool, Sheffield and Huddersfield. I've just got my tickets for the Blackpool one.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So has this been quite a while then since you've done a live performance?
Yeah, I think the last proper show I did was Jack Saunders' Hopscotch Night
Yeah.
on March last year.
Yeah.
So we've gone past the date now of my last live show. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess I did a live stream gig for Scruff of the Neck, but proper show it's been like over a year now. So
Yeah.
it's really excited to get back in like the room with people and, you know, see some people, especially because I feel like since lockdown happened, I've grown a bit in like fan base wise. So it'd be cool to see who turns up now.
Yeah. And can we expect to see you at any festivals or anything this year?
Well, festivals is a bit of a weird one.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I'd love to be
Mm.
playing festivals. I had a really great time at Truck the other year.
Yeah.
And I'd love to play any festival that wants me. Just give me a message, you know. It's just kind of that vibe. But at the same time, like I don't even know like what festivals are going to be happening. Even the ones that have announced, I'm not even sure they'll happen. So it's really hard to like even tell what's going to go on. Like I had my guitarist messaging me today, like, "Yo, I booked off some days for work, so like I don't really know what's happening." Like, because he has a day job and stuff, so it's really hard to even know.
And I got the listeners to send in a few questions for you as well.
Sick, cool.
So Dan wants to know if you could be a member of any band, which band would it be?
Probably 21 Pilots. I'm such a fanboy of them.
Yeah.
I love them. Everything they do is amazing. 21 Pilots.
Yeah. And we've got Johnny. He says, what changes as an artist when you get signed?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's just like it feels exactly the same as when you sign. I think there's this big mystery and like myth around signing is like you sign and then it's just like straight to stardom. It's not like that. It's like you sign and then suddenly everything gets like really high pressured and you lose a bit of creative control. There's a big push and pull which you kind of have to compromise with. So it's great because you get a team behind you, but you know it's also very it's very strange and it's I think you have to make sure you're very established before you and like have leverage before you jump into a record deal. And
Sophie asks, what's your favourite thing about Forest of Dean?
My favourite thing about the Forest of Dean is my friends back here. Just because my musical friends, like my band are my best friends and we make music all the time, but at the same time I've got friends that aren't musical here and like I've known them since I was like 10 and we just grew up doing nothing in a place that has nothing to do and you get really close like that. So like I feel like they're my family and you know that's the most real pure thing about the Forest of Dean is just the friendships.
And Ava wants to know, are you single and what would be your ideal first date?
Yes. And the ideal first date would be crazy golf, a really wacky crazy golf place, and then Yo Sushi.
What was the last bit?
Yo Sushi. It's that restaurant.
Oh, Yo Sushi. Yeah.
I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. And I've got a bit of a quick fire round for you as well.
Sure.
What's your most memorable fan interaction?
Oh my God, I don't really have many.
Yeah.
I mean, every time like someone comes up to me ever is crazy. So like, oh yeah, I was in a local pub in Wetherspoons in a village just across from where I live, and I have no fans here. Like, it's so strange. Like, I have a few people, but people want to go against you and be like, no, he's just the whole thing is like outside of where you live, like people like your music, and then in hometown it's like, no, that's just dirt for you. Like, no one's at like a fan. But I was in Spoons and some girl came up to me like, I've got a poster of you on my bedroom wall. That's great.
That must be quite surreal. Do you have many people sort of like getting in touch and telling you that like your music's helped them or affected them at all?
Yeah, that's like the kind of the maddest thing. Is
Yeah.
just I don't feel big in any kind of way. I'm still growing, like still early days for me. So whenever I do get a message like that, it's sobering and very reminds me like, wow, this is you are still like doing this there. Like you can get into ruts of being like, oh, it's not working, but then like you get a message like that and it's crazy.
Yeah. And what was the first album that you bought?
The first album I bought with my own money was Frank Ocean, Channel Orange.
Oh,
That was
that's
only
a
like,
good one.
yeah, that was like when I was six. No, I think I was 17. Like
Yeah.
I was fresh out of college, just got a job. Like my first albums back in the day when I was a kid was like Busted, but I didn't buy them with my own money. It was Christmas
Yeah, it
present.
doesn't count if you didn't buy them.
Yeah, like yeah, this was like the first one. Like I think I worked like a couple of hours at my first job, got 15 quid, and then I went and bought it on eBay, and I listened to that like every day on the way to work. And that just every time I hear that album now, it just reminds me of working at a jewelry store.
And who would you say has influenced your music?
21 Pilots, like the album Blurry Face kind of changed my life. Like my friend bought me it for like 3 quid, and HMV was like, you need to listen to this. I was like, okay. 21 Pilots, Beck, The Killers. The Killers were always on the radio when I was a wee kiddie, and they kind of just bled naturally into my stuff, I think, and now I'm a huge fan of them. Anything that was my dad was playing, the Lighthouse Family. My mum played a lot of Dido in the car. She just had the one CD.
Yeah.
And anything that was on the radio in the early noughties, like the 2000s when I was a kid. So yeah.
What's your most played song at the moment?
Most played song, as in mine, or as in like what I like to play?
Like what you like to listen to?
I am really into a song called Red Hearse by a band called Red Hearse. It's like it's Jack Antonoff's side project from Bleachers. It's amazing. I love the song.
Yeah, I'll have to have a listen to that. Did they do a song with Bruce Springsteen? Am I thinking of the right band?
Bleachers did a song with Bruce Springsteen, it's just Jack Antonoff anyway.
Yeah. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
What do you order from Greg's?
I don't really go to Greg's, but when I did I used to work at a jewelry store, and every morning we get a sausage and bacon sandwich and a caramel latte.
What's the best bit of advice that you've been given?
Nothing ever happens by itself. That was my guitar teacher in year 5. The reason I'm even making music to this day, he's like the sensei. I haven't spoken to him since I don't even think he knows I signed a record deal or am doing this like full time, and I'd love to see him sometime and be like, yo, I need to tell you what's happened in my life, like from like the early days when he taught me guitar. But he wrote me a really mysterious letter when we parted ways, and on that it says, remember, like nothing ever happens by itself. If you want to start a band, you have to go out and find the people yourself, and you have to if nothing will come to you, you just got to do it by yourself. And I've kind of applied that in every sense of the word. Yeah.
What's your karaoke song?
I got asked this at the barbers the other day. Mr. Brightside.
Oh, that's a classic.
Just is, isn't it? Everyone knows the word.
Yeah. And what was the first song that you learned to play?
It's some wacky thing that my guitar teacher taught me, but I think the first song that is like everyone knows is Iron Man by Black Sabbath. And
before we go, would you like to request a song for us to play on the show?
Okay. There's a tune. Just do the Red Hearse by Red Hearse.
Red Hearse by Red Hearse.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. And if people want to hear a bit more from you, do you want to do a little plug and let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Devon Music everywhere, all the socials, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you like. That'll be it.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello, I'm Devon, and you're listening to the Indie Show on Stratford FM. Stafford time.
It's okay, we can go again.
All right.